first mission trip with my church, First Baptist Norfolk, was in 2008, and we went to Vietnam. During the trip, we went to the small city of Hai Phong. While there, we met our interpreter and her family, had a Bible study with some Vietnamese women, enjoyed a brief respite, and had an opportunity to shop for some Vietnamese outfits. But what I was most excited about was that we were scheduled to visit an orphanage that some of the missions team had visited before. I was super pumped about this visit, not only because I would be meeting the children, but also because I would be telling stories to them. The morning we went to the orphanage, we split into smaller groups and rode in taxis to the location. I was in the last taxi and was carrying a few props for one of the stories, so I was also the last one out of the taxis. As I was getting out of the taxi, I noticed how my teammates were happily greeted by the children that I had collected at the entrance. I knew that some of my teammates had met some of the children the previous year, so I understood their natural excitement. But even others who were on their first trip just like me were greeted with warm smiles and at least a quick hug. I finally gathered everything and came to the entrance with a smile on my face, waiting for my hug, and as I approached the children, they screamed and ran away. I was totally taken aback. What happened? Then in an instant, I realized what was different. For many of the children, I was the first Black woman they had ever met. And not only that, I was probably one of the largest people they had ever met. As I tried to regain my bearings, I walked slowly to some of the children, and they would only push their friends over into me and then run away. My teammates didn't realize this had happened, and I had determined that there was no reason for them to know. So I pasted a smile on my face, even though my heart was really heavy, and I quietly worked with my teammates as we split the children into teams for some relay races. I kept mostly in the background, but on one game, my partner for the relay races was busy, so I had to help count out some race items. I tried to count using my newly learned, very badly spoken Vietnamese, and one of the older boys laughed at my sincere try. But then he helped me. That small bit of laughter warmed up our little relay team to me. And when we won that relay, my little group thought I was pretty great. After our relay races, the children were gathered for devotional and sharing. This was the time I was to tell the stories. The first story I told was a Vietnamese folktale called Toad is Uncle of Heaven. And for the second story, I was going to tell the biblical parable, The Prodigal Son, while the missions team was going to act out the story. Our interpreter, who was also a previous drama buff, made it even more engaging as she used her dramatic skills throughout the translation. After the stories, every child wanted to be my friend, and the smile that I had kept pasted on my face in spite of earlier disappointments became a sincere one, and my heart was lifted. When we left that afternoon, many a hug was given to me from the children, and as I rode in the taxi back to the hotel, I leaned my head back and prayed quietly, "Thank you, God, for stories."